Hey everybody, BoxingBoa coming back at you again today. I got Snape with me. He is, your average boa constrictor, BCI, or common boa constrictor, okay? That's what I want to talk about today. The BCI genus. This is what I would consider, the common boa that, everyone used to call them common boas back in the day. Now everyone just refers to them as boas or BCIs. But when I sit there and I'm talking, and this one guy was really nice, I'll read to you. He goes, I usually don't leave comments on videos. I'm not trying to troll you, but I have to disagree with you on this. I've heard you say in many videos that many morphs are not BCI, when actually they are Central American boas, are BCI along with other boas. And he's right. He is right. The reason why I sit there and say that is because I don't want people, I guess I should more specifically talk about locality, okay? If you look at a Central American boa, which is a BCI boa, yes, this is true. It's a different locality. They're smaller. If you look at just your average Central American boa, they're not as beautiful, or they're just not as pretty as your standard common boa, or what everyone refers to as a BCI. If you go to any breeder's websites, they'll sit there and tell you that this, like, say I bought this boa. I mean, there's lots of sites you can go to. You'll see it where they'll say this has, it was bred to a Central American to, like a standard BCI boa. They'll say BCI to Central American. They separate the two. Even though they're in the same genus, it's so that way people know what they're buying. Because unfortunately, the taxidermy, the way it works is they just haven't separated the species out. And BCI is actually a subspecies. And he was really nice, and I said yes, and I said I remember who the original breeder was after the video. Yes, well, you are right. I was trying to simplify it. I did not break it down into locality, which is why I tell people to do their own research. The Motley gene was exported out of Colombia, but is considered a Central American boa. Central American boas are a smaller form of boa constrictor imperator. So while they are BCI, they are a much smaller form, not like your large Colombian boas, based on locality. When doing this series, I was going to get into that, but I wanted to break it down slowly, because there's a difference if you get a pure Motley, like the ones first brought in. They were smaller BCI, aka Central American. So a lot of breeders back in the day and to this day keep them pure Central American. Also, if you notice, we still refer to CA or Central Americans. If you go with the larger locality BCIs, we refer to those as BCIs, and I sit there and go on. I said it also helps people when just buying and not wanting to get a larger BCI by saying Central American. And that's true, and he was very nice and respectful, and I understand where he's coming from. But if you look at, it's like this, okay? If you take a jungle, like I've said in many videos, a jungle carpet python, you take a coastal carpet python, okay? The DNA is exactly the same. There's no difference, right? So then it becomes, are they actually separate species? Some people used to believe they are. But now with science saying they're the same thing, then it becomes about locality, range, where they're from, where they've been, and there's a big difference on that. That's the thing. They look completely different, and they are in their own genus, but scientists are saying, well, they're actually the same snake. It's just about locality, according to the DNA. So no matter if I breed my jungles to my coastals, I can't sit there and say, I can't sell somebody and say, well, here's a coastal, or here's a jungle. I can't sit there and take my jaguar carpet and breed it to my jungle and you get something called jungle jacks. I can't sell those as just jags, even though technically, due to science, they're the same thing. No, you gotta sell it as a jungle jag so people know it's a jungle and people know it's a jag or a coastal, because that's where the jag gene comes from. So it's the same thing with boas, and in boas, the boa constrictor imperator. Many people will contact me or ask me about Hog Island boas. They'll ask me about Central American boas. They'll ask me about Mexican boas and stuff like that. And here's just, I wrote this down. I got it saved on my notes. In the BCI gene, okay, there's the Mexican. There's the Tarahamil. I can't pronounce right now in my mind, but The Belize, I'm sitting there trying to read it and I still have a hard time. For some reason I'm brain farting on how to pronounce that name, and I do know that name. It takes me off. The Clay Crawl, there's the Colombian, there's the Ecuadorian, there's the El Salvador, there's the Costa Rican, there's the Honduras, there's Nicaragua. You know, there's a bunch of genuses lumped into the BCI gene. But if you actually look up all them BCI boas, they're all different looking because it's locality. So that's why a lot of people, like, even you guys hear me talking about different, you know, VPIs say, well, they're not really BCI. Well, they are, but they're from the Central American part of it. And with the Central American, like the Burke Stone line of T positive, that is sold as a Burke Stone line Central American. It's not sold as the Burke Stone line BCI like the VPIs are and like other boas are, so that way people know which boa they're getting, especially if you want to keep your Central Americans pure, you know. And so therefore it's easier for breeders like myself and a lot of breeders to just differentiate them by sitting there saying, you know, here is, you know, a Motley boa that is, it's always going to have that Central American bloodline. It's not really a BCI. I mean, it is, but when you look at what we consider your standard BCI, it's separate. But I guess I should sit there and talk about the genus a little bit. Same thing with Hog Island boas. You'll see Hog Island boas for sale, and people want to know if it's pure. Well, technically, and I have no problem with, integrating Hog Island boas, but a lot of people will breed Hog Islands to your common boa or your standard BCI like this guy is, and they'll sit there and say this is not a pure hog. Well, technically, if it's in the BCI family, isn't it a pure hog? No. And so that's why you will hear me talk about, even when I go further on in this series and I'm talking about different boas, saying that this boa originated from Central American. That's Central America. That's why. You know, that's why I always urge people to do their own research, because I don't want to sit there and confuse everyone by thinking, well, Jay said this is Central American, but it's a BCI. And then so you go and get this Stone Burke Central American line of T positive, and you breed it, and then you breed something else, and somebody buys it and goes, wait a minute, this has Central American in it. I wanted this. And so that's why people switch them separately and kind of label them in their own class, just like I do, even though they all are in the BCI family. Now, the good thing is scientists are still continuing to do research. They're still, you know, finding things out more, and hopefully a lot of these boas will get separated into their own category, because they are completely different looking. I mean, you look at a hog to a Central American, to an El Salvador, to a Mexican, to what we consider your standard combo, your BCI, completely different looking, which is why we all call them, you know, this is an El Salvadorian boa, this is a Mexican boa, this is a Hog Island boa, this is a Central American boa. And different, like if you even look up hypos, okay, hypos came from Panama, right? And even though I sit there and say, you know, that's not a BCI, that's a locality. It's not it didn't come from your original common boa. You know, so therefore that way you understand that you're getting a separate subspecies, so to speak, coming in, even though they're in the same species category, even though BCI is in the same subspecies category. You know, if that makes sense to you, because if you actually look up all these different boas I'm talking about, you will see the huge difference in them. So people break it down naturally, you know. So that guy is right, but hopefully you guys understand why I break it down the way I do. And if you go and check out a lot of breeders and the way a lot of people sell their snakes or even talk about their snakes, they do the same thing. It's not that I'm trying to misinform anyone or lead anybody down the wrong path. I'm just trying to get you the basic information, like I said, the beginner's guide to get you started. Now hopefully if you do your research, you start realizing, wait, this in the BCI family, there's a whole bunch in the BCI subfamily, because that's a subfamily of the boa constrictor. You know, there's a whole bunch of different classifications. Same thing with, you take your BCCs, right? Your boa constrictor, your true red tail boas. You have your Surinames, your Guyanans. Now that drives me a little nuts, because there's no border that separates Guyana and Suriname. They're to me, they're essentially the same thing. Now once you get further out, you know, once you get further deeper into Suriname, once you get further deeper into Guyana, there's a little bit difference in color and stuff like that. But you know, you also got your true Brazilian red tails, which are in the same family as boa constrictor, constrictor. You know, there's several others. I don't want to sit there and name them all, but at the same time, people try to keep that locality separate, which is also why, you know, if someone breeds a Suriname to a Guyanan, they tell you, or at least they should, or a Suriname to a Brazilian, they'll tell you, you know, because it's about that. It's not that you're trying to sit there and say this is separate. It's just you're saying that this is different, and that way people understand. So, like I said, if you look these animals up and you really do your research, just see what I'm talking about. Look up a Central American boa. Looks nothing like your standard common boa, which is why a lot of morphs do come from Central America. They're, you know, yes, it's a BCI, but it's not what we in the hobby, you know, look at as like your standard BCI or common boa. You know, and so, and a lot of people don't even use the common boa name anymore. A lot of people just call them BCIs, and then they call the other one Central American, Hog Island, Costa Rica, etc., etc. So hopefully that clarifies that up a little bit. Hopefully it gets you excited about doing your research. And I want to thank that guy for leaving that post, because it did make me want to kind of get into that a little bit sooner than what I wanted, but at the same time, you know, he is raising a valid point. And he did say, you know, he respects me, he loves my videos, and I mean, the guy was really nice, you know, and so I understand where he's coming from. You know, I do understand that. But you look these boas up and you'll see. And hopefully scientists, like I said, will get these separated. But I will continue this series. Hopefully you guys understand going further as we get into this. I'm going to try to do these at least every few weeks, or at least once a week, on these boa genes and boa morphs. And that way, hopefully now going forward, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I sit there and say this isn't really a BCI. So, yeah, I just really want to clear that up. And this boy, he should be breeding next year. I was going to breed him this year, but I decided to wait a year. Not because he's not big enough or anything, but other boas are doing their thing. So he got put on the back burner, poor guy. He wants to go, but he's a good snake. As you can see, he just chills on me, relaxes, and he's just a good boy. I absolutely love Snape. And, hopefully he'll end up proving out. We'll see. Like I said, he's a 66% hit for Sterling boa, so that'll be very cool. He's got great colors, and he's definitely, you know, got that classic, you know, tan, khaki looking color to him. And he's got some nice pinks into him, so he's a good looking boy. So you guys have a blessed and positive day, because you know I will. Like I always say, if you got any questions or comments, just please leave them down below. You know I will get back to you guys. This is BoxingBoa, Priest, and Snape saying peace.